We are now 4 weeks into the 2025 NFL season, and after our short hiatus this past week, we are back to recap the full 16-game slate that provided some pretty major storylines. So, welcome back to VinConn Sports Talk. This is episode 60, another episode closer to the big 100. As always, my name is Connor Swanson, joined by good friend Vinny Martin. Vinny, how are we doing today?
Dude, good man. Another milestone decade here, you could say, episode on VinConn Sports Talk. So thank you for
Yeah.
joining us today. Doing good, man. Getting over recovering a little bit of being under the weather over the weekend. So hopefully the voice can stay today for this whole episode. But we're gonna take it a little softer than usual. But hey, um, good week of NFL football. A lot of interesting things happening as always. Unfortunately, some pretty major injury news happening this week, so we'll dive into that. But we're gonna get right into the games of the week, Connor. This first one, your team in the center stage for what is undoubtedly one of the most crazy games we'll see all season.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's the Packers and the Cowboys. It was a pretty heavily anticipated matchup coming into the year, especially after that Micah Parsons trade, right? Micah Parsons, all the drama that happened with Jerry Jones and how he got moved out of there. He comes over to Green Bay. Green Bay looks fantastic through the first 2 weeks, struggle last week. When they come into this game, it's the revenge tour for Micah Parsons, right? They're coming to Dallas in front of Jerry Jones, and it just wasn't the performance that he would have hoped for, okay? The game actually ends in a tie, Vinny, 40-40 in overtime. The game ended around like 12:30 p.m. Or
Yeah.
a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so very late for people who decide to stay up for this one, which we of course did. Jordan Love was 31 of 43, 337 yards, three total passing touchdowns. I'll start by saying this actually. Both offenses performed very well, but that's because there wasn't much defense to talk about in this game. So Jordan Love had a very good game. Josh Jacobs was 22 carries, 86 yards for two rushing touchdowns, and also added 71 yards through the air as well. Romeo Dobbs was kind of the guy that exploded onto the scene in this one. He had six catches for 58 yards and three touchdowns. Gets the hat trick there. And then Matthew Golden. He's been saying he wanted to have his breakout game, and I think this is kind of the a step in that right direction. He had five catches for 58 yards, one big play in the first quarter, that kind of got his day rolling. For the Cowboys, Dak Prescott, 31 of 40, 319 yards, three touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown as well. So four total touchdowns for Dak Prescott. And really overall, he didn't really have much trouble moving the football, right? He moved down the field every single time. Didn't really struggle. So outside of that first quarter, I'll say it was 13-0, right? Packers go up two scores. They're going to take the extra point, and it gets blocked. So the Packers again struggling with special teams, struggling with kicking the ball. We saw how it ended with the Browns 2 weeks ago, where they got the game winning field goal blocked, and now we're here and we get an extra point block, and they actually run it back for two. I mean, what are the chances of that? So it was 13-2, and at this point, the Packers have been dominating the game. Cowboys had nothing on offense, a couple three and outs, but after this, um, Cowboys went on to score 14 points in a little over 30 seconds, which is kind of bizarre. Strip sack on Jordan Love was costly, but overall, that was really the only defense of the game. Besides that, teams were just kind of flying down the field and scoring without much resistance. As for the Cowboys' running game, Javante Williams, 20 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown. So again, Devontae Wyatt went down for the Packers. He's kind of their big run stuffer after trading Kenny Clark to the Cowboys. So he went down and kind of opened up a lot of lanes for them. And then George Pickens was an absolute monster, right? In CeeDee Lamb's absence, eight catches for 134 yards and two receiving touchdowns. He was the X factor for the Cowboys for sure. And then Jake Ferguson continuing his very good season, seven catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown. So, Vinny, this is a game where I'm a Packers fan, obviously. I'm watching it. We get out to a good start. I'm feeling good. The offense looked fantastic, but it's like we've been talking about this defense being so good, and they just didn't have it in this game. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on is this Packers defense just not good, or are the Cowboys offense just able to move the ball? I don't know. Like the Bears stopped the Cowboys, and the Packers can't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little concerning, definitely for me, but I'm not going to go out and say the Packers defense is not good. Obviously, we know that's not true. They held the Lions to virtually nothing in that first game of the season. So, I mean, the talent is there. We know that. They've struggled a little bit. Even, I mean, against the Browns, who are a terrible offense, still played good defense that game, but not enough to ultimately win the game, as we know. So, Packers do need to kind of get it together. But at the same time, I mean, I think the Dallas Cowboys are also a pretty competent football team when they actually lock in and are able to get it done. I mean, this is I see this as a win for Dallas. Obviously, it's a tie, which is unfortunate. We should not have ties in professional sports or any sports. I think that's the most ridiculous thing ever. But Dallas, this is a win for them in a game where they weren't supposed to compete at all. They were supposed to get blown out. So it's a win for the Cowboys, a loss for the Packers in my book, even though it was definitely, not the case for either side.
Yeah, and I
But
mean, I'll add a couple more things here just to wrap up this game. I mean, the only time Micah Parsons really, made an impact with that you saw, right? Because you look at the stats and I saw it, he had the highest rating of any player, right? He was fantastic, 34% win rate, pass rush rate. He was very good, but Dak Prescott and that Dallas Cowboys offense, they schemed it up so that Parsons could not make an impact at all, right? They got the ball out in less than 2 seconds, where Parsons maybe wins right away, but doesn't have time to get to Dak because they're throwing these short balls or they're throwing go balls where the ball is out of his hand in less than 2 seconds, right? It's very tough for a player to make an impact when you're doing those types of things, short plays, quick things, and they ran the ball away from Parsons. They took him out of the game for the most part, until the end when Dak Prescott in overtime looked like he was gonna have a rushing touchdown, and Parsons comes around, hustle play, brings him down, and they gave him a sack for that. So I think that was kind of more for the storyline. It was really just like he was down at the line of scrimmage. I don't know if it was actually a sack. If anyone's big into statting football games, but they gave it to him. It was a big play, forced a field goal, and allowed the Packers to go down and then ultimately tie the game. But Vinny, I want to talk about the end of overtime really quick. I mean, the Packers,
yeah,
I said it. They were moving down the field. First of all, big fourth down conversion. That was good by the Packers. Matthew Golden over the middle. But then there's like a minute and a half to go. We got one timeout, and we're kind of just taking our sweet time. And it's not like
right,
we're at like the 40-yard line. Like we're not necessarily close. Like, and we're just kind of walking, doing our thing. And I'm thinking to myself, I think I said it. I was like, we got to move. Like if we're not
yeah,
playing for a tie here. And ultimately we got inside the red zone and then check it down with 23 seconds left. The guy stays in bounds, which you should be hurrying to the line of scrimmage, right? To get if you want a shot at the end zone, you heard it would have been third down, right? You can't really spike it there, unless that was your game plan. But I figured take a shot to the end zone. But they waited until there were 5 seconds on the clock to snap the ball, and they throw it to the end zone, and they get saved by whoever was managing the clock in Dallas. Did not let the clock run out, even though it probably should have. So there was 1 second remaining after just terrible, um, terrible decision by Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur to throw that ball there after taking so long to get to the line. I blame a lot of this game on Matt LaFleur. I think his play calling was very bad this week. And now it's kind of becoming a trend for Matt LaFleur. He's struggled a lot in these last two games for play calling. And, I don't really blame Jordan Love. He's definitely got to get the guys going a little more there. But Matt LaFleur, I mean, he's got to figure something out because he really has been a pretty bad coach when it comes to calling plays for the offense so far. So got to work on that. But at the end of the day, it's a tie. Packers fall to 2-1-1, which is just an ugly, ugly record.
yeah.
Cowboys go to 1-2-1, but I'm not worried about the Packers. I mean, very easy stretch of the schedule coming up here. So if they're sitting at 5-1-1 or 6-1-1, I mean, I'm not really gonna be thinking about this game too much.
Yeah, no, it's horribly mismanaged at the end of the game. It's definitely should have had an opportunity to win. Maybe they were playing for the tie. Who knows? I don't know why
They
they
must
would
have
want to
been.
do that.
They must have been.
But it's you don't really. You're an NFL team, NFL head coaches, and you should be more aware of the situation than that. But
Exactly. Exactly.
um, that's just how it went. It was frustrating, definitely to watch, to stay up that late to see a tie. I'm sure a lot of people were frustrated. You never want to see that, but definitely the game of the week, most competitive, most fun, even though the horrible outcome. So
Yep.
we will leave it there and move on to a game that looked like it was going to be obviously one of the best matchups in the AFC, if not the best on paper. The Chiefs versus the Ravens, at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. I mean, you hype up this game, both teams are coming in 1-2, right? So we're kind of pressing the panic button. You don't expect the Chiefs or the Ravens to be 1-2
Yeah.
in any season, especially this year. And this was going to be a test of who kind of is legit and then who's going to be in trouble. And it turns out the Chiefs played like the Kansas City Chiefs of old for the first time in, I think, 2 years. So this was the best that their offense has looked in a very long time. They end up winning 37-20. Patrick Mahomes throws 4 passing touchdowns. He has 270 yards through the air, getting everyone involved. Obviously, Xavier Worthy, who is their deep threat, their number one wide receiver for now, was back in this game after getting injured in the very first play of that first week. He comes back. He has 5 catches for 83 yards. Also, we know that they like to use him in the run game. He had two carries for 38 yards. So really good work there. Hollywood Brown, Juju, Isaiah Pacheco, and Tyquan Thornton, they all caught a touchdown. So
What a crew that
um,
is.
just um, um, just that's an interesting, just a very interesting crew of names, all catching a touchdown. So the football was distributed very nicely in the red zone by Patrick Mahomes. For the Ravens side, they looked really bad. Lamar Jackson, 14 for 20, 147 yards, and a touchdown and a pick before he did exit the game in the third quarter with a hamstring injury. So that means the backup QB, which is Cooper Rush, you Dallas Cowboys fans know that name pretty well. He comes in, and the whole offense is just much different at that point
Yep.
once Cooper Rush comes in because, I mean, no one is Lamar Jackson, obviously, especially not Cooper Rush. So, um,
Especially not Cooper.
especially not. We want to emphasize
Emphasize
that.
that, yeah.
Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers each still got 7 catches, so not bad games for them. But they couldn't move the ball down the field. They couldn't really do much, even when Lamar was on the field. Chiefs defense was definitely had a game plan, and obviously we know that the Chiefs have owned the Ravens for years, pretty much in the entire Lamar
Yep.
versus Mahomes era, and that did not change today. So they clearly know how to scheme up a good plan. As for Lamar, as far as I know, we don't have a timeline yet for what's going to happen with him. It didn't look great. That I think you can maybe expect him to miss time. That's kind of the impression I was getting just from what I've seen so far. But if we get any news on that for whatever reason today,
Yeah, I
we will
mean,
let you know.
Harbaugh
But
yesterday, I think, post game, he said something along the lines of he couldn't have finished the game if he wanted to, which
yeah,
that's concerning, obviously. But at the same time, he he jogged off the field just fine.
yeah,
He was walking around on the sideline just fine. I genuinely question if he just kind of quit on his team there because,
yeah.
nothing was going right for the Ravens there. I mean, they were only down 17, which is why the injury makes more sense. But like, yeah, he had nothing. He had an interception. He had a fumble. I mean, I would not be surprised at all if the hamstring injury is kind of a facade for him just
Yeah.
kind of giving up a little bit.
Oh,
And it would suck to see
that would be
that, but I
unfortunate.
wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate. I mean, initial speculation, watching the games was that he was quitting. Like there
Yeah.
was no injury. That's kind of what we were all led to believe, but we'll see. We'll see if he does come back this week, totally fine, then that's gonna kind of tell that story for you. Um, but yeah, bad luck in a big game if
Let
that
me
is the case. But
let me ask you this, Vinny.
yeah,
Who after this game are the Chiefs back to being, favorites to win their division? Are they going to be able to claw it back if they keep looking like this?
yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. And I wouldn't be shocked if they did because the Chargers they looked bad this week. We're gonna get to that, really bad actually. And
Yeah.
I mean, the Broncos had a big win, but they played an absolutely just atrocious football team right now. And I mean, the Raiders are not going to be doing anything. So the Chiefs, if they play like this, I mean, they're 2-2.
Yep.
I don't think we obviously were overreacting as everyone else did when they started 0-2, saying that they're not going to win the division. It's a long season, so I
Yeah.
think they're still have a really good shot of doing
Do
so.
we now on the flip side, do we start to worry about the Ravens even if Lamar's healthy? I mean, this is a 1-3 football team with Lamar Jackson healthy.
Yeah, I'm worried. I'm worried because again, the Steelers look pretty good. And I think that's their only concern for the Ravens. But the schedule is going to get easier. I mean, they start off the season with the Bills, the Lions, and the Chiefs in 3 of the first 4 weeks. So that's a
Yeah.
tough schedule. But you expect a team like the Ravens to win one of those games because they
Yeah.
are
And they should
looked
have.
at as one of the best teams. They've had a lot of injuries defensively. They've looked
Yeah,
terrible. A lot of
Matabuke
injuries on
is ruled
defense.
out for the year, which is a big one.
Yeah, and not to mention that Derrick Henry has just done nothing this year. Hold for that first game against Buffalo. So a different Ravens team. I don't think they're out of it yet. We'll see what happens with Lamar, but don't be shocked if you see a new AFC North champion this year. Is the AFC North the division with the no repeat champions, or is that the East? That's the NFC
That's the
East, right?
NFC East. Yeah.
Yeah, the Ravens have won it for a few years in a row.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if they still ended up winning it, but I think the Ravens, I give them less of a chance to win it over the Chiefs by
Yeah.
far at this
Got it.
point. So
All right.
okay,
With
move
that
on.
said, we're gonna move along to the third game of the week here that we had, which was kind of I wouldn't say a good game necessarily. Like big teams, and it was kind of just a mess, but it ended up being close. We have the Eagles and the Buccaneers. The Eagles actually hold on to win this one 31-25. Okay. And it wasn't, it didn't look like it was going to be that. It looked like it was going to be a blowout for the Eagles early on. They led big at halftime. It was similar to what we saw with the Rams Eagles last week, where the Rams had a big lead in the first half and then fell apart in the second half. Eagles had a big lead in the first half and fell apart in the second half here. So, kind of reversed their game script there for the Eagles. But Jalen Hurts, 15 of 24, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, added 62 on the ground as well. Saquon had a rushing touchdown. Dallas Goedert had 2 receiving touchdowns, and AJ Brown, falls back to what we were seeing the first couple of weeks, and he finishes with 2 catches for 7 yards. So fantasy managers definitely not happy with AJ Brown. For the Bucks, Baker Mayfield, 22 of 40, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns, did throw an interception as well. Bucky Irving had a phenomenal game, 15 attempts for 63 yards, and then 5 catches for 102 receiving yards and a touchdown as well. So, I mean, he's doing it all right now, getting ton of targets, ton of opportunities in that offense. He's the clear workhorse. Mecca Egbuka, in the absence of Mike Evans, he does all right, 4 catches, but 101 yards off those 4 catches, and
Yeah.
finds himself in the end zone. I mean, fantastic. And then the return of Chris Godwin. Good to see him back out there. He had 3 catches for 26 yards. So, nothing crazy, but it's his first game back, working him back into the offense. I think he'll get better as the season goes on. Vinny, a crazy stat that I saw after this game. Jalen Hurts was 0 for 8 passing in the second half. The Eagles did not complete a pass on offense in the second half, which is kind of bizarre. Um, but then you look at this stat right after it. Hurts is just the third quarterback in the last 30 years to win 18 straight games started and finished, joining only Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
And they look
those two stats don't align.
they don't align at all, but they're both real
No.
and they're both true, which is kind of
Yeah.
crazy. So it's ugly how the Eagles win, right? I hate watching it. I hate seeing them win
Yeah.
this way, but
Horrible.
they get it done. And hey, you know what? They didn't use the tush push for a touchdown. They faked it and gave it to Saquon for a touchdown,
Fascinating.
which at least they did something different, right, Vinny? We can be happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Eagles, quite frankly very irritating to watch. I think we could both agree on
Yeah.
that. They're only a fun football team when they're trailing, and that's not crazy to say, which is it doesn't happen too often. I mean, not completing a pass in the second half. I mean,
What are we
you have
doing?
teams you have teams that could be up like the Seahawks last week. That you could be up 38-3 at half and still complete 5 passes in the second half.
Yeah.
It's getting like and the Eagles still won, so you can't complain about it. You can't say it's not working, but they play good defense. They run the ball, and Saquon's not even having a good year. Saquon's
No,
not even
not at
having a
all.
great year.
The
So I don't know how
efficiency
they're
is
doing
way
this.
down.
The Buccaneers, despite being 3-1, they played pretty bad last week and down the stretch, and they didn't look great in this one either. Um, Blocked punt
Yeah.
first drive of the game.
Eagles
Just
had 2
started off.
blocks in a row of games
Yeah,
from scrimmage or plays from scrimmage, which is kind of funny.
yeah. So I don't know. I think the Eagles, unfortunately, are, and yeah, I am saying unfortunately, they're just going to cruise through the NFL season, just doing this, and hopefully not cruising to another Super Bowl win unless they start to become a little more fun.
I'll
That's
say
all I
this.
gotta say.
I mean, the way they're looking right now, like as much as they're 4-0, right, and they're on top of the NFC, blah blah blah, they don't look like a Super Bowl contender. When you like
Not at
watch them
all.
play, they don't look like it at all. I mean,
No.
I talked about it. I talked about at the start of this game. Last week, terrible in the first half, right? Which I don't care if you play a good half of football in the second half. I mean, if you're going to compete for a Super Bowl, you need 4 quarters of football, right? It's not
Right.
just a second half game. You're not going to be able to make those comebacks against, the Bills, the Chiefs, and I'll still throw the Ravens in there, right? Like it's just not going to happen. Um, so they need to figure something out where they can get 4 consistent quarters of football because that's what we saw from them last year, and that's why they were so dominant. That's why they won the Super Bowl. But this year, it just hasn't been that way. So I am a little bit concerned about them, even though they're sitting at 4-0.
Yeah. I'm concerned. I'm definitely concerned, but I'm also not because the division they play in, while usually very competitive, I think this year definitely not. Um, you know, so the NFC East, I think it'd be very hard for them to
Yeah,
choke the NFC East at this
yeah,
point.
I'd agree.
And then they'll have their bye, they'll have their home games, and they're in the playoffs, probably the 1 seed, and this is just what they do. So
Yeah,
I think they consider themselves lucky that the Buccaneers aren't playing up to their standard of football offensively, at least. I mean,
yeah.
Baker's still almost threw 300 yards, but just very inefficient, just not great. AJ Brown, man, I feel bad for that you guys have AJ Brown on your team.
Yeah, that's rough.
Um,
Even I mean, even Devonta
because
Smith did nothing too. The entire
yeah, you could expect that from Devonta Smith, but AJ Brown, I mean, the guy's getting almost 10 targets a game and putting up these statistics. Like it's actually quite shocking. Obviously, we don't see every snap, so I don't know what's really going on. If it's Hurts' fault, if it's Brown's fault, if he's dropping passes, I'm not too sure. But I'm seeing the stats and how many targets he's getting, and that's just really uh,
yeah,
not encouraging
yeah.
for fantasy. But anyway, Eagles do get the win there. Those are our games of the week. So it is now time to head into what we call the best of the rest. We're going to lay out some other competitive games with good storylines. And Connor, you're going to have to bring us all the way back to Thursday night to a game in Arizona, Seahawks and Cardinals.
Yeah, kind of a long time ago, it feels like, right? Where we got to go all the way back a couple days now. Seahawks end up getting the win 23-20. And what was it was a close game. We expected it to be, somewhat balanced, almost like a toss-up where these teams were both 2-1 coming in. Um, but Seahawks were at home. And Sam Darnold, he played well, and he led his team to victory. He went 18 to 26, 242 yards and a passing touchdown. Kenneth Walker had 81 rushing yards. JSN was his first quiet game of the year. Okay, he did get it going late in the game, but only 4 catches for 79 yards, which it seems like, oh, 79 yards, that's pretty good. But for him, he's been up around that 100 mark with close to 8 targets every single game. So this was definitely a quieter night for him, but. It doesn't matter when you get the win. I guess that's the point there. But for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, 27 to 41, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The turnovers, the big X factor here in this game because without those turnovers, I mean the Cardinals only lost by 3. So without those turnovers, Cardinals easily could have gotten another touchdown, another field goal to tie it or even win the game. So Kyler Murray's got to do better. Marvin Harrison Jr., 6 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown. And then Trey McBride, 7 catches for 52 yards. This was, I'm trying to think of the Thursday night games we've had so far. I wouldn't say this was the worst, but there was nothing flashy about it.
Well, I mean, we had Bills Dolphins, probably the Bills Dolphins, Eagles Cowboys was I
That
don't
was the
consider it
first one.
Thursday night football. I mean, it's the Sunday night football like cruise and stuff on the first game, but we'll consider it. Yeah, I mean, this game was definitely boring. I mean, it wasn't really close until the end.
Yeah.
Seahawks were dominant pretty much this whole game, but I mean, the Cardinals, they had pretty much nothing. They had nothing going. It's kind of what you'd expect from this football team, and they did. They brought it together in the end, and the guys you'd expect to have good stat lines did. I mean, you mentioned Marv, 6 for 66 and a touchdown. That's not bad, considering what he's been doing. And then Trey
Yeah.
McBride's going to get his, obviously. So, Kyler Murray with 2 bad interceptions though,
I
which
mean,
you don't like to
this
see.
this division, man. I mean, we're gonna see another matchup from this division this Thursday between the Rams and the Niners. This division looks very exciting. Like it's going to be a
Yeah,
close matchup the entire way. 3 teams sitting at 3-1 right now, and then the Cardinals at 2-2, which is kind of
yeah,
not what I expected to start the season, to be honest. But I'll always take some good NFC West divisional battles.
yeah. And this division's always close. It's always pretty balanced, but I will say the Niners and the Seahawks are both not as good. They don't deserve their 3-1 records. I'm gonna
Yeah,
confidently say that.
I think the Rams are
I think at
still.
the end of the day, the Rams are by far the best team in
Yeah,
this division, and they should. But it's going to come down to these divisional games with the
yeah,
Rams if they are able to beat the Niners and the other divisional teams. So we'll see. We'll talk about more about the Rams, but um, yeah, pretty lackluster Thursday game,
yeah.
even though it was close. But we can continue on.
Yeah, so we're gonna move along to a game that was a pretty shocking upset for a lot of people. A lot of survivor pools were ruined by this pick. I know mine was. Probably shouldn't have picked them, but I thought they were going to win. The Chargers and the Giants at MetLife, so the Chargers had to travel across country. And the Giants win it 21-18. A big upset for them. A lot of Giants fans very happy about the win, but unfortunately, there was a big piece of news that kind of took away from their first victory of the season. Star wide receiver Malik Neighbors ruled out for the remainder of the season with a torn ACL. Just it. We saw it the last time the Giants played the Chargers at home. OBJ tore his ACL at MetLife Stadium, and now Giants are
Oh
playing
boy.
the Chargers at home again. Malik Neighbors tears his ACL. So not a good look for the Giants team. In the turf, I mean, the NFLPA had a meeting about the turf, which has always seemed to be agreed upon as the worst turf in the NFL, causing a lot of injuries. But nothing has been said yet of what that meeting entailed or what's going to come of it. But I'd hope that they try to do something because obviously, it just sucks to see guys go down with torn ACLs from just trying to plant their foot and jump because that's all it was. It's not like he got tackled weirdly. Like he went to plant his foot and jump in the air, and the turf monster
Yep.
really got him this time. So that's
Yep.
unfortunate. Um, Jackson Dart, Vinny. I realize I skipped the game, and I'm talking about the wrong game.
You stole my game, Connor. You
I'm
stole my
sorry.
game.
I'm so
And I'm gonna
sorry.
steal your game. No, we're gonna switch here. We're gonna switch. I was gonna play it off all cool, but now you had to bring it up.
I
So
had
we're
because I
gonna
just realized that I did that, but it's okay.
this
I'm gonna
this
keep
is
going
this
here.
was supposed to be my game. I wanted to talk about the Giants, but
Why don't you
continue.
take it over from me?
No, 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 no. To continue, because I'm already ready to go for the next one.
All right. Jackson Dart comes out here and he does something. He 13 to 20
He
passing,
did.
111 passing yards, and a touchdown. Had 10 carries for 54 yards and a rushing touchdown. Kind of looked more like a running back than a quarterback in this game. Cam Scadaboo had 25 carries in this game, which was a ridiculous number. Not very efficient, only 79 yards off of that. No touchdowns for him. For the Chargers, Justin Herbert, 23 of 41, 203 yards, one passing touchdown, two interceptions, which was kind of disappointing for this Chargers team, kind of led to their demise in this game. But then Omarion Hampton continues to be a fantastic rookie running back since the Najee injury. 12 carries, 128 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Just unfortunate that it's a massive injury that kind of takes away from this victory for the Giants. Definitely something you want to be able to celebrate a little bit more, but of course now losing him, the outlook on the season is even more bleak than it previously was.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, I mean, Jackson Dart obviously passing numbers are underwhelming, but he didn't throw a pick, so he was good. Like, took care of the ball, but he got most of his yards with Malik Neighbors on the field in the first quarter. So that's going to be something to monitor rest of the season. Looked great on the ground. We're going to start calling him Jackson Fields, feeling a little Justin Fields action. Um, but hey, I mean, I'll be honest with you. As Giants haters here on the show, I like Jackson Dart. He's a likable guy. I'm rooting for him. Okay, and I think the Giants are just a more exciting team with him at quarterback. I don't think it's going to be pretty unpredictable. I feel bad for Russell Wilson because I saw Jackson Dart's post game speech. Russell Wilson was in the background, like looking like he wanted to kill himself. He or kill Jackson Dart. I should probably say he looked pissed. So I mean, Russell Wilson, they pulled the plug on him very soon. But at this point, you spent a high draft pick on Dart, so I don't hate it at all. So maybe Russ can get some action somewhere else or just be a backup this year. Who knows? The Giants win. Just really unfortunate. Chargers this was a game they have to win if they're gonna be legit in the NFL. So we talked about them. They're 3-0. They've looked great so far. They've won against 3 division opponents. Great stuff. You have to beat the Giants if you're going to be
Yeah.
taken seriously.
You have
So
to. Now, like,
yeah,
I just can't trust him. Like, I can't
exactly.
trust him.
Can't
You just lost to
can't
the
trust them.
Giants, you know?
Exactly. What's next? You're gonna lose to the Saints? Like I don't like what like
Well, the
how
Giants got
how
to match
what
up
are
with
we
the Saints next week.
yeah, that's we're very excited about that one. But anyway, I will take over your game now
Yeah,
that you
sorry about that.
skipped. No, it's okay. We talk about the Commanders and the Falcons. An interesting game. Obviously, no Jaden Daniels again in this one. We had Marcus Mariota again. Not too bad. But I will say, obviously, up front, the Falcons did win this game. Could be seen as an upset. I think this was pretty even going in with no Jaden Daniels, but Michael Penix Jr. for the Falcons did look really good. 20 for 26, 313 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns and a pick. Kyle Pitts is having himself a year. He gets in the end zone. Drake London finally with a really good game, 8 for 110 and a touchdown. And then Bijan Bajan. I've heard every broadcaster has said a different name, so we'll go with Bijan for today. 75 yards and then 4 catches for 106 yards through the air, so really good. And then, like I said, Mariota not bad, but kind of came down to earth after a good performance last week. But his number one wide receiver in Washington is Deebo Samuel. That has been the case for all 4 games so far. 6 for 72 and a touchdown for Deebo. So, I mean, this game was a shootout. It was pretty exciting the whole time. Good to see Michael Penix kind of bounce back after a really, really awful performance last week. I think giving the Falcons fans some hope that he could be your franchise quarterback. I know after last week, a lot of people were hitting the panic button hard.
Yep.
on Michael Penix. So, do you have any takeaways from this matchup?
No, I mean, this was kind of an ugly game between. I mean, it wasn't that ugly, but like it's like a meh matchup. You know, a team
Yeah,
without Jaden
yeah,
Daniels, and then the Falcons who are kind of just. I don't know. There's not much excitement with them because Michael Penix just hasn't looked the part this year. But glad to see Drake London kind of have his first breakout game this year, and then Darnell Mooney exited with a hamstring injury. He's should be good to go after their bye week next week, so week 6 return for him. He should be
yeah,
okay, but that could be a reason for why Drake London did as well as he did, but you never know. So yeah,
yeah,
Falcons get
yeah.
the win, and hey, you know they're trying to stay
Good
alive
win.
in that division with the Bucks.
No, it's a good win for them. It was much needed after last week. So, good for them. I still think they could be a playoff team this year. So,
Yeah,
good win
for
for
sure.
them. Speaking of two teams with their eyes on the playoffs here, let's go to the 4 o'clock window. We have the Colts and the Rams facing off in LA. This one was tough to predict because we were saying, the Colts, they've looked the part. They beat a good team in the Denver Broncos. They've taken care of business coming in 3-0. The Rams, one of the best teams in the league in our opinion.
Yep.
Can the Colts do it again? Can they come up with another upset? The answer is no, because the Rams do win this one 27-20. Matt Stafford is putting together a really good campaign so far. 29 for 41, 375 yards, 3 touchdowns. Puka Nakua, if you passed up on him in your first round of your fantasy draft, like I did in one, I forgot if he was drafted before I picked in our league. I think he was, but um, I mean, the guy is just an absolute menace. I mean, 13 receptions, 170 yards, and a
Yep.
touchdown. I mean,
Crazy.
PR machine. We wondered how Devonte Adams would impact this wide receiver room, and I mean, Devonte is still contributing as well. I mean, he had a touchdown. It seems like he's getting in the end zone every week. He had 56 yards. So I mean, just a great game passing wise for the Rams here. For the Colts, Daniel Jones still putting up a big chunk of yardage through the air, 262 yards. We did see the turnovers though, 2 interceptions in this game, looking a little bit like the Daniel Jones of old, but that might be a little overreaction because he still didn't play a terrible game here, but the turnovers obviously in a one-score game are going to be costly for you.
Yep.
Jonathan Taylor continues to be good, 76 yards on the ground, but for the Colts, are they still legit, or do you think this is going to be the start of a slide for Indy?
I mean, this was the Colts were up 20-17 with not much time to go in the game. So I mean, I think the Colts are still very much alive this year. I still think they're going to be a very good team who's going to compete for, the playoffs and maybe even getting a win in the playoffs. With the way the season's gone so far, I mean, you look at Daniel Jones. Yes, he had the 2 turnovers today, but they're still in the game against I think, one of the better teams in the NFC. So overall, I mean, Colts defense has looked good. Colts offense has looked even better. Um, the schedule shouldn't be too crazy. They've had some rough teams early on that they've been able to hang with and beat. Mentioning the Broncos and hanging with the Rams here. So I'm not worried about them right now. I'm still very confident that they're going to go out there and be a team that's over 500. And I still think at this point, I think they're going to win that AFC South.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I've been a D1 Colts hater all year, and I will come out and say I think they have a very easy path to winning the division.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
the
just got to
Jags look
contend
good.
with the Jags. Yeah,
Jags look good. I mean, the Texans they got their first win, so they're not out of it yet either. But I think the Colts definitely have looked the part, and I mean, there's no real excuse to not win this division for them right now with how
yeah,
good they've played. But speaking of the AFC South and the Jaguars, why don't you take us to their game at 4:25 here?
yeah. Jaguars and the Niners here. A pretty big matchup between two teams that were Niners were still undefeated. They were 3-0. Jags were 2-1. So Jags trying to hand the Niners their first loss, and they did just that. The Jaguars get the win here, 26-21. Trevor Lawrence, 21-31, 174 yards and a touchdown. Did throw a pair of interceptions as well. Both to linebacker Devin Lloyd. So he had 2 interceptions there. Good day for him. Travis Etienne was fantastic. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I said that backwards. Trevor Lawrence did not throw interceptions. That was Brock Purdy who threw the 2 interceptions to Devin Lloyd. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up here. Uh,
No, you're good.
but so yeah, Brock Purdy throws 2 interceptions. Devin Lloyd gets both of those. Brock Purdy also had 309 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Just didn't see much from this Niners offense. They were kind of playing from behind the entire game. It was 17-3, 17-6 at halftime. And they kind of just had to battle back the entire way, and the turnovers were costly. 4 total turnovers for the San Francisco 49ers team, 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions. For the Jags running game, Travis Etienne was fantastic. 19 carries, 124 yards, and a touchdown. And then Brian Thomas led the team in receiving yards with 49 yards. Still awaiting the Brian Thomas of last year. Hopefully we get it at some point. I know a lot of fantasy
Yeah,
managers are hoping that. But it doesn't seem like it might not come. I mean, they're 3-1 with how they're playing right now. So who knows?
it's not like he's
CMC,
been like atrocious,
no,
but
but
he's been
I mean,
just not like he has been last year.
yeah, he's gotten 10 fantasy points
He's
once in 4 weeks.
yeah, but
It's just kind
just
of
kind of a,
disappointing.
he was a Mac Jones merchant, low key. He was so good with Mac Jones at the end of the year. I
Yeah.
digress. This is so off topic, but
Oh,
sorry. Continue.
it's true though. It's not off topic if it's true. Well, I guess that's not. Anyways, CMC
I don't know about
49 rushing yards, 92 receiving yards, and a touchdown. So he goes over 100 scrimmage yards. Um, Pearsall and Jennings, the two wide receivers for the Niners, both got hurt in this game. Neither of them practiced on Monday. Both are questionable for the game coming up, but obviously still very early on in the week. But it is a Thursday night game, which is why you got to consider it. And then I mentioned Devin Lloyd already, had the two interceptions. He's one of those players of the week on the defensive side of the ball. But overall, this was a pretty interesting game because I picked the Jags in this game. A lot of people were on the Niners. This was kind of that first pick that got me. We'll mention the pick'ems at the end, but this was kind of the first game that got me leapfrogged back up into the top group in the pick'ems because I had faith in the Jaguars. I thought they were going to be able to pull off the upset, and I was right. So it was a good one, close game in the second half, which made it more interesting than the first half was for sure. But 26-21 win for the Jaguars. Both teams now 3-1. We mentioned the Jags and the Colts now battling for that division, and the Niners. We already talked about the NFC West. So two teams that should be in the hunt for their division titles, and a playoff spot, wild card berth at worst or at best. So we'll see.
Yeah, they talked about the linebacker battle in this game. Fred Warner and Devin Lloyd, really good. And Fred Warner set, I want to say it was a Niners record for most
Forced fumbles.
forced fumbles
Yeah.
of all time for the Niners. So really one of my favorite players in the
I
league. One
was
of the
I
most
was
fun
laughing
players to
at that
watch.
because when they said that stat, I was kind of thinking to myself, they had this one ready and they could have had to wait like 3 more years for that stat.
No, I know.
But they had
Yeah,
it
so
ready. They did their
it's
job.
hey, that's one of the things about being a broadcaster. You have to be prepared
You
for
got to
to
know that
throw any
stuff.
of those things out there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, man.
props to the team there, and also props to the Jags here. Really, one of the most convincing wins for Jacksonville in a long time. So yeah, I mean, Trevor Lawrence didn't even have to do that much, but they just looked like a pretty cohesive unit,
Yeah, for
offense and
sure.
defense.
For
So
sure.
really good. Move on to another very interesting one here: the Bears and the Raiders. My Bears, you guys know my Bears.
His
Get
Bears.
another win. Get another win. 2 in a row here. We're hot right now. Um, they win
We're hot.
25 to 24, excuse me. Um, they win 25 to 24 over the Raiders, and it should have been worse than that because let me tell you how bad the Raiders looked. Okay. Specifically one guy in the Raiders by the name of Geno Smith. Okay, you know the name. 117 yards, 3 interceptions. Okay, 14 for 21. So I mean, almost half of his incompletions were picks, which is kind of an interesting stat there.
Yeah.
Just really not great. I mean, the reason why the Raiders were in this game, obviously defense, which has not looked terrible this year. Obviously, Max Crosby's there. Defense has not looked bad. But I apologize because I know last week I said that Ashton Genty would not be a top three rookie running back the rest of the season. Well, he took that very he got
Personally.
offended. He took it very personally. He got offended. He goes for 138 yards and a touchdown on the ground and 2 receiving touchdowns. So if you benched Ashton Genty in your fantasy league, if you were fed up with the mediocre performance, I'm sorry because you're going to be quite upset that he was on your bench with all those fantasy points. Roma
Yep.
Dunze for the Bears too. He gets in the end zone again. He's been really good. And then Caleb Williams, not a great game, 212 yards, touchdown and a pick. So, you know, nothing great. But the Bears do come away with the victory on another blocked field goal
Yeah. This was a
here.
very ugly game.
Yeah,
I mean,
as you would expect these two teams to play, right? Just it's the typical like 425 like CBS like no one cares. It's like
no
it's
one
the like
wants to watch it.
it's the other game. Like
Yeah.
when it's 425,
You got Fox.
you know on Fox or CBS, whoever has the national game. It's always the national game, and then you have this other game that no one cares about. And this was the other game, but it ended up being more exciting down the stretch than the Chiefs and Ravens, obviously. But yeah, I look at this game, I look at this win for the Bears. I'm not convinced that the Bears are going anywhere or doing
No,
anything after this
not at
victory.
all.
Um, definitely not. But hey, It's good to be 2-2, maybe make things a little interesting in the NFC North. And the Bears, I mean, they don't have a better record than the Packers because of the stupid tie, but they are. We'll say that they're even with the Packers. Um, not technically, but I don't know how that makes you feel. Probably pretty nervous.
Not really. I'm not worried at all about the Packers right now. At least being better than the Bears. I mean, I would
Oh,
bet the house on that, but I'm
okay.
not gonna do that.
Well, bet that. Well, you should. You should bet the entire house on it. But yeah, not convinced with the Bears. The Raiders, we already knew they were pretty bad, so they just continue to solidify that. Glad that the only win the Raiders have so far against my Patriots, and they actually kind of dominated us too. But that's okay. So let's get the heck out of here. Spent way too much time there. We'll go to the Jets and the Dolphins, who faced off last night. First leg of a Monday night doubleheader that was underwhelming as you
Quite
would expect.
disappointing. Yeah.
Um, the Dolphins come away with this one 27-21. Again, this is a story of one team kind of dominating, but the other team coming back and make it interesting in the very late stages of the game. Or the Dolphins, same formula. Okay, not really pushing the ball downfield, running the ball a heck of a lot. Devon Achane, 99 yards and a touchdown. No work in the receiving game, which was quite frustrating for some reasons we won't go over on air today. But just doing it old fashioned style on the ground, which is really worked. The Jets could not stop anything, and I mean Tua didn't turn the ball over, which first time this year he didn't turn the ball over, which is good. Dolphins also got their first takeaway of the year on defense. Was a fumble recovery at the one of Braylon Allen. Just not a good look for the Jets. Speaking of the Jets, I mean Justin Fields looked better than Tua in this game. The
Yeah.
stats don't lie. 20 for 27, 226 yards and a touchdown. Had 81 yards on the ground, including an incredible scramble touchdown on fourth down, kind of to not save the game, obviously, but put the Jets back in the game.
Give him a chance.
And
Yeah.
then give him a chance. Brees Hall at 81 yards on the ground. I mean, they were just hammering the ball on the ground. The Dolphins had trouble stopping the run last night. And then Garrett Wilson, I mean, not a bad day for him. 82 yards and a touchdown. A really nice touchdown late in the game to kind of keep those feet in. And again, keep the Jets in it, give them a chance. Main story of this game, why I think it turned out the way it did, is the Jets' offensive line was just on another planet. I mean, they were the Dolphins pass rush was getting to Justin Fields in what seemed to be a millisecond every single
Yeah.
play. Like it was
Every
kind of
single
shocking.
snap.
Um, the Jets spent a first round pick on an offensive lineman, Membu. Uh, Obviously, I mean it's not all his fault. I'm not saying that. I'm not gonna claim that I know every person on the Jets offensive line, but the point I'm trying to make is they've done a lot of investing into it and it doesn't seem to be working.
No.
So unfortunate for them. They go to 0-4. What do you got to say about this game?
I mean, this is what we expected from this game, right? We did not expect anything fun from this game. We expected to turn it on and be bored out of our minds, and
Yep.
hopefully it would be close at the end. And I mean, it ends up being a
That's
6 point
exactly what
loss,
happened.
but
Yeah.
it didn't feel close at the end. It just didn't. The Dolphins had the win. Shout out Darren Waller for getting 2 receiving touchdowns in this game for the Dolphins
Good for him.
because he's back. He's playing football again after retiring and then getting over his injury that he had and then coming back. And so he's here. Um, but no, I mean,
Yeah,
not a
cool.
game that I have much to talk about. I mean, Tyreek Hill out for the season, kind of the biggest thing here with
Yeah,
that torn ACL, which at first they said, maybe just a dislocated knee, which, still out for a long time, but I don't know if that's season ending. And then obviously the torn ACL is officially season ending. And we just got news as well. Braylon Allen has a sprained MCL. So he likely is going to end up on the IR. So any of you Brees Hall fantasy owners, he's going to be doing even better the next couple of weeks. So
yeah,
stay on the lookout for that.
yeah. Not great here, but that's gonna wrap up the best of the rest, which means we have one more segment for today. That is the Quick Six, which we introduced last week. We take the 6 worst games of the NFL slate here in Week 4, go over them quick, say some kind of off the dome hot takes or kind of comments or thoughts after we're done. And Connor, I apologize because your games here are actually not bad, not too bad, most of them at least. I
Yeah,
have
my games
three
aren't bad.
really bad ones. But it's just kind of how we laid it out. So I take 3, Connor takes 3. So I'll rip through my 3 games real quick and then you could let me know some hot takes. All right.
All
So
right,
we ready?
got it. Let's go.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Start off in Houston. Texans and the Titans, just the most miserable football game you could ever draw up or imagine. If the Texans somehow lost this game, it's like over, like season over. probably losing to the worst football team of all time. They did not have to worry about that because they took care of business. They win 26-0. CJ Stroud with his best game of the year so far, efficiency wise. Um, 2 touchdowns through 233 yards, 22 for 28. Main storyline here, though, Woody Marks, really, really good game here, the rookie running back for Houston. 69 yards and a touchdown on the ground, 50 yards through the air and a touchdown. So really good. Fantasy managers keep on the lookout for that. For the Titans, they've looked awful so far every single game. Cam Ward is very frustrated. The first overall pick, he mentioned in a press conference that stuff I won't say, but he's not very happy with the team, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have some different coaches being fired. And he already had a new play caller this week. Didn't seem to work. Really bad stuff for the Titans. But we move on to a team that I would want to talk about for much longer, but we'll keep it quick. The Patriots and the Panthers. The Pats, one of the best wins I've seen in quite some time for my New England Patriots. They beat the Carolina Panthers 42-13 after giving up 6 points on the first drive. It was no looking back for New England. Drake May continues to be incredibly efficient and safe with the football. 203 yards, 2 touchdowns, 14 for 17. I mean, didn't have to do much. The defense carried this ball game for New England. Marcus Jones with a punt return. We've seen that happen a couple times in New England. Really, really good stuff there. Got the place bumping. Great atmosphere at Gillette Stadium. And then Stephon Diggs, our wide receiver, one with a breakout game here, 101 yards on 6 receptions. Nothing going for the Panthers here at all. They had a tight end that caught a touchdown. It was Mitch Evans, I think is his name. So notable name there.
Mitch
Keep an
Evans.
eye
There we
on
go.
Mitch Evans.
There we go.
Um, so Panthers, after winning 30-0 last week, continue to kind of go back down to earth. So good for my Pats. Definitely encouraging going into a big matchup with the Bills in Week 5. And finally, on Monday Night Football, the second half of that doubleheader, another horrible game. The Bengals and the Broncos, a game that if Joe Burrow was healthy, I would expect to be a really, really good battle. Obviously, Jake Browning, as we all know, is not Joe Burrow, and I think the NFL fans are very familiar with that statement by now. He couldn't get anything going against the Broncos defense, who finally played a really good football game for what seems like the first time all year. And then the offense was fantastic. Again, for definitely the best game on offense for them. Bo Nix, 326 yards, 2 touchdowns, 29 for 42. J.K. Dobbins had 101 yards on the ground. R.J. Harvey had 58 yards on the ground. So, I mean, their splits were almost even, 16-14, respectively. So important to monitor. Cortland Sutton, 5 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown. They were feeding him in the first half. They didn't have to in the second half. Kind of just were running the clock out at that point. For the Bengals, nothing going. I mean, T. Higgins was kind of the most involved guy in the offense, even then he didn't do much yardage wise. I mean, Jamar Chase, he had Pat Surtain on him, so obviously he was held in check. So those are my 3 games there, Connor. What do you got for me for some takeaways?
Now, I'll be honest. I'm struggling to think of some hot takes for the last
You
two
don't have
games
to.
here. But Texans,
Okay.
Woody Mark. I mean, it's not that hot. Woody Marks is RB1 in Houston going forward, and that's my hot take. And I think he's going to be a startable running back on a weekly basis in fantasy football. Uh, Moving on to the Panthers and the Patriots. This one's tough. Two teams that there's not much to be happy about. For a
No.
long-term outlook. But I mean, I don't even know what
Mitch
to say.
Evans. Mitch Evans is here.
No, nothing about
They're
Mitch
the best
Evans.
NFL guy.
Let's say Panthers just continue to be completely inconsistent the entire season long. I mean, they could win next week, then lose. I mean, that's not a hot take, but I don't know what to say for this game. Panthers are just going to be a team that they can go out and win, then they're going to lose, then they're going to look good, then they're going to be bad. And Bryce Young is not the quarterback of the future. I guess that's the hot take.
Okay.
Bengals and Broncos. Let's go. Bengals don't win again for a long, long time. Like a long
Hey,
time.
yeah. That was mine last week, but you can continue saying it.
I mean,
Um,
it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. It's not changing.
By the way, I looked up Mitch Evans because I wanted to make sure that he was actually someone real and not someone. So I looked him up. He's a New Zealand motorsports. I can't even speak. New Zealand. Oh my God, New Zealand motorsports racing driver. But then I typed Mitchell Evans. He goes by Mitchell Evans. He's a tight end. I only
Wow.
know that because I picked him up in the 32-man league and started him, and it ended up working out great. So,
Okay.
um, Okay. So thank you for those. Why don't you go right ahead? Tell me about your 3 games now.
Yeah, so starting off with the Browns and the Lions. The Lions win at 34-10. They do not fall victim to the Browns like the Packers did. Jared Goff goes 16 to 27, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Not the best game for him. Jameer Gibbs 15 carries, 91 yards and a touchdown. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown continues to be fantastic. 7 catches, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. As for the Browns, Flacco throws 2 picks, nothing special. Quinshon Judkins, kind of the only bright spot of this team in this game. 21 carries, 82 yards and then had 2 rushing touchdowns and also had 33 receiving yards. And how about Isaiah Bond, Vinny, the wide receiver who, a lot of
Mm,
drama surrounding him in the preseason, finally gets a contract, finally gets on the field, 58 receiving yards, which actually led the team over guys like Jerry Jeudy and the tight ends. We move on to the Saints and the Bills. Bills win 31-19 in a game that was actually close. Okay, that's why Vinny mentioned it. These games weren't really as bad as they look. Maybe that Lions Browns game was, but these next two didn't end up being as bad as some of the other quick six games we've had. Josh Allen 16 to 22, 209 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Threw his first pick of the year. First pick in a while for Josh Allen. Tried to throw like a go route and it just got picked off by the defender. And Josh Allen also had 45 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. James Cook, fantastic running back. I continue to be wrong about this guy. He's proven me wrong every single week. 22 carries, 117 yards and a rushing touchdown. Khalil Shakir broke loose for a pretty big receiving touchdown. He ended with 69 yards and a touchdown for the Saints. Spencer Rattler again. He doesn't look terrible, but he just doesn't do enough. He finishes 18 to 27, 126 yards and a touchdown. 49 rushing yards for him. Big turning point for this game. Chris Olave, they tried to run the Philly special. Chris Olave gets the ball, tries to throw it back to Rattler, and he just throws a pick. And that kind of sealed it. If they scored there, they would have taken the lead over the Bills in Buffalo.
yeah.
And they just couldn't make it
Facility.
happen. They shouldn't have done it. Honestly, they shouldn't have done it. Just play the ball. You or just play the game. You were playing so well to that point. If you punch it in there, you're beating the Bills in Buffalo. Like that is not something a lot of teams can say. Um, so, Saints go on to lose that game 31-19. That was kind of the turning point there. Move on to the Vikings and the Steelers. Ends up being a better game than the start showed for sure. The Vikings were down 24-6. So they were out of it. I was watching it. 9:30. This game's in Dublin, Ireland for the first time, playing in Ireland. And they ended up coming back, but still ultimately lost 24-21. So a 3-point loss there. But good thing they kind of made it a bit of a game at the end. Aaron Rodgers finishes 18 of 22, 200 yards and a touchdown. DK Metcalf had a massive 80-yard touchdown that kind of got things going for the Steelers offense. DK finishes 5 catches, 126 yards and a touchdown. Big player in this game was Kenneth Gainwell. Jalen Warren was, expected to play the entire week. And then all of a sudden, Sunday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? They rule him out. So anyone who was on the West Coast that started Jalen Warren in fantasy really had no chance of getting him out of their lineups because this game started at 6:30 on the West Coast. So you weren't up at 5 a.m. to check your fantasy lineup. I can tell you that. Uh, Even
Maybe.
people here on the East
No.
Coast didn't even do it with Jalen Warren. They left him in. So, but Kenneth Gainwell, 19 carries, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns, that had 6 catches for 35 yards. So a fantastic performance for him. One of the best performing running backs in fantasy football this week. From for a guy that no one really gave a thought about because it's the Jalen Warren show and Steelers offense kind of wishy washy. You don't really care about Kenneth Gainwell, who was always a backup on the Eagle. Like it just didn't seem like a guy who's going to do something like this, and he did. So props to him. Vikings offensively, Carson Wentz, 30 of 46, 350 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Justin Jefferson had a very good day, 10 catches for 126 yards. And Jordan Addison is back. He saved his day with a big 90-yard catch that should have been a touchdown, but he got outrun by the linebacker Peyton Wilson. And then Xavier Scott, the backup running back in Minnesota, 6 catches for 43 yards and a touchdown. He actually played some wide receiver in college and high school, so listed as a running back, but he does a lot of pass catching to fill that Aaron Jones void. But yeah, those are my three
Mhm.
games, Vinny. What do you got for me for hot takes here?
Um. Okay. We'll go Browns Lions. I'm thinking we see Dylan Gabriel by week 7
Okay.
as the starting quarterback of the Browns. Obviously, very interesting quarterback situation there. Uh, Joe Flacco hasn't looked the part, so we'll go with that for them. Saints and Bills. I mean, the Bills obviously didn't look great in this game, but I'm not worried about them. I don't think you could take away anything. For the Saints, I'll say they're not gonna have the worst record in the NFL. That's my
Okay.
hot take.
All right.
I think they're not gonna have the worst record in the NFL. Um, for Vikings Steelers, I mean, we already mentioned it, but I think the Steelers are going to be your AFC North champions this year.
Wow. Okay.
They look good.
All right.
They look good.
Cool. Love it.
Uh, week 4, hard to tell by this point, obviously, but still in the overreaction phase. Got to get a few more weeks under our belt before we can start really
Oh, for
talking
sure.
about division winners and all that stuff. But yeah, that's going to be the slate for this week. Before we sign off today, though, we do have to take a look at the standings here. And I'm actually looking at them for really the first time this week. And well, Connor, congrats. It looks like you had the best week
I
in the
did.
pool
I had a good week.
with 12-4, so that's good. Right behind you, we had a three-way tie. I mean, Josh obviously picks the favorites every game. I'm exposing him. I don't care. He picks the favorites every game. But he went 11-5. Blitz, my guy, 11-5. Obviously, Jack Wasung, excuse me, also known as Bongos. He goes 11-5. So nice. I continue to be pretty bad, so I'm like right down there towards the bottom. But Connor, with your win this week, you are tied with Mr. Josh Costello
If
for
the
the
Raiders
lead.
didn't get their field goal blocked, I would be in sole possession of first place. But blocked field
Yeah,
goals are the theme of the season, so I have to live with it.
theme of the early season for sure. So Connor and Josh are tied for the lead. We're almost a quarter of the way through the season. So that is going to be the case there. I'm in second to last. So that just shows you I've taken a lot of risks so far, and they usually don't pay off when I do that. But yeah, that's the unfortunate reality. So yeah, guys, that's gonna wrap it up today. Thanks for listening. Voice did make it through the whole episode today, which is good. I started to get a little fired up about some things, so we're feeling it a little bit, but I hope you don't mind about that. Connor, any like final wrap up comments for week 4 from you?
Um, no. I mean, I'll say this. I don't think there is a single team in the NFL that has looked 100% dominant in every single game that they've played in.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I think there are way more teams that have looked disappointing compared to teams that have been surprisingly
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
In my opinion,
I
I
feel like
think the
normally at this point in time, you kind of see, okay, like you're used to seeing, okay, the Bills and the Chiefs, they're going to do it again. The Ravens are going to be back again. The Eagles are going to be back again. And while the records might still be good for, the Bills, the Eagles, they haven't, I mean, at least for the Bills, it was just this last week, really. But for the Eagles, I mean, they
yeah
haven't looked the part. Like these teams aren't looking like powerhouses that can't be beaten, right? Which normally you
yeah
have a few of those at this point in time. But I just feel like they're not there here in 2025, which is exciting. It's good.
yeah a lot of parity. I feel like maybe just maybe this could be the year where we see an unconventional Super Bowl because me and you were talking about this yesterday. With the exception of the Rams and the Bengals, which was a couple years ago, we have had the Chiefs or the Patriots in every Super Bowl the past 10 years, or the Eagles. The Eagles have been against the Patriots or the Chiefs. I feel like this year has a better chance than most years to change that, and
Switch
I'm
it up.
definitely rooting for it. But speaking of Super Bowls, before we sign off today, we're almost a quarter through the season. Give me your current Super Bowl prediction, the two teams, and who's going to win.
I am going to
If you need to
go.
think,
I'm going to go Packers,
yeah,
Chiefs,
Packers Chiefs
and the Packers
rematch of
win.
Super Bowl one,
And the Packers win.
rematch of Super Bowl win. Okay.
What about you?
Listen, respect it. Um, I had Packers Bills to start the season. I'm changing that because the Packers have had two pretty bad games in a row, and I'm not saying that they can't do it. I think they can, but they haven't proven it to me. So I'm going Bills and Rams
Okay. I
as
like
my
it.
Super Bowl
I
pick.
like it.
Bills, in my opinion, have been the most dominant team in the NFL. And then the Rams, I think, have been the second most. I mean, they should be 4-0 if it wasn't for a blocked field goal. They should be
Yeah.
4-0. So yeah, Bills and Rams is my pick for now. I think that would be a pretty exciting matchup for sure.
Hey,
Um,
Packers should be 4-0 too if it wasn't for block kicks. So
yeah, that's true. You forgot about the extra point attempt that went for two.
yeah,
Was ended up being the decider in this tie. So hopefully the Packers get back on track. Are you on bye this week, or am I
yeah, we are.
dreaming? Yeah,
Packers,
you are. You
Falcons,
said that.
Steelers, and off the top of my head, I don't know the fourth team, but there has to be.
Yeah. There's another team out there. Yeah, no, I thought I knew it, but then I didn't. Okay, so we'll get back to that in the preview episode. When the buys start to happen, week number 5. But anyway,
Bears.
thank you guys for listening. Bears. I don't get to watch my Bears this week. That sucks. Okay. That's gonna wrap up this episode. We thank you guys for tuning in. As always, be sure to check out Instagram, TikTok, and then if you're on YouTube or Spotify, if you enjoyed the episode or the content in general, please make sure to hit the subscribe button, get notified for when we drop new episodes. So, for my partner, as always, Connor Swanson, this is Vinny. We're gonna sign off. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.